The future king is a hypocrite, and it's about time we talked about it. You've probably seen the headlines: Prince William at yet another environmental award ceremony. Or perhaps you've seen his speeches across the globe where he's banging on about wildlife and the need to save the planet. But back at home, things look quite different. He's often out with his son, teaching him how to blast birds out of the sky. His friends' estates are often tied to accusations of illegal wildlife crime. And do you remember when just days before launching a wildlife appeal, he was seen off hunting deer and boar? Well, what finally pushed me to make this video was his recent trip to Cape Town. There he was, in front of the cameras, talking about this urgent need to tackle the illegal wildlife trade. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, completely back what he was talking about, but the hypocrisy is impossible to ignore, and no one in the media seems willing to hold him to account on this. If the future king really wants people to take him seriously as a champion for wildlife, maybe it's time he gets his own house in order first. Now, you might be thinking, isn't that a bit harsh? But when you see the decades worth of wildlife destruction linked to Prince William, you might start to wonder if he should focus on protecting British wildlife at home before telling the rest of the world what they should be doing. So let's start with February 2014, where Prince William said this.
My father and I hope you share our belief that it is shocking that future generations may know a world without these magnificent animals and the habitat upon which they depend. This year, I have become even more devoted to protecting the resources of the earth for not only my own son, but also the other children of his generation to enjoy.
Now, of course, I agree with his sentiments, but it's kind of hard to get behind him when literally the day before he posted this video, photos of him and his brother surfaced of them on a hunting trip in Spain, where they hunted deer and wild boar. It's kind of hard to take him seriously when so soon after killing animals for fun, he then proceeds to talk about this need to protect animals. Then just 2 years later, William stirred up yet more controversy. In an interview of ITV News, he said, "There is a place for commercial hunting in Africa as there is around the world," basically suggesting that regulated trophy hunting could somehow contribute to conservation. Here's the clip.
There's been controversy over Prince William hunting and shooting game himself. He says the killing of Cecil the lion by an American game hunter was wrong, but insists some so-called trophy hunting, where money is paid to kill, is justifiable.
How do you square that with your passionate advocacy of conservation?
There is a place for commercial hunting in Africa, as there is around the world. It's not to everyone's cup of tea, but the argument for regulated, properly controlled commercial hunting is that the money that goes from shooting a very old, infirm animal goes back into the protection of the other species.
You know it's bad when even Piers Morgan feels the need to step in and urge William to defend his claims. The TV host stated, "I don't like our future king, who is supposed to be so aligned to conservation and helping to save animals, actually endorsing that kind of trophy hunting." And on this, it's very hard to disagree. But should we really be surprised, given the royal family's long history of killing animals for trophies? And killing animals is something William seems to be quite comfortable with. A couple of years after that ITV interview, reports came out that he took part in a grouse shoot at the Balmoral estate in Scotland with his then 5-year-old son, Prince George, there to watch. Yes, you heard that right. Introducing a 5-year-old to this royal tradition of shooting birds out of the sky. And again in August 2020, William joined Kate, Prince George, and other family members for yet another grouse shoot near Balmoral, just part of their customary summer activities in Scotland. But no, it doesn't stop there. Just a couple of months ago, the Mirror reported that Prince George might soon be introduced to another gruesome royal tradition. According to Duncan Larkham, author of Prince Harry, The Inside Story, the 11-year-old prince may take part in a stag hunt with his father, after which the blood of the first kill would be ceremonially smeared on his face. And this is exactly why it's getting harder to take William seriously as a voice for wildlife conservation. He talks about this need to protect wildlife and the planet, yet he's keeping the tradition of grouse shooting alive and kicking, as well as other sick hunting traditions, and even introducing his young son to them too. If he really cared about the planet and the environment and protecting wildlife, would he really be participating in a pastime that harms so many animals? Of course, it's not just the grouse getting shot out of the sky for sport, but all of the other animals involved too. The foxes, the stoats, the weasels that are killed just to protect the grouse that are then shot out of the sky. The thing is, the royal family's association with grouse shooting goes back a very long way. It became popular in the Victorian era thanks to Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, who helped make it a favourite activity for the British aristocracy. But just because something is a tradition doesn't mean it needs to continue, especially when it's predicated on so much harm and suffering. And grouse shooting isn't just terrible for the animals, of course it's awful for the environment too. Grouse moors are often managed by regularly burning the heather, because then it promotes the growth of young heather, which is ideal for grouse to feed on. But these fires harm the soil, release carbon dioxide, and they damage other plant species, which of course reduces biodiversity. A lot of these grouse moors are peat-rich landscapes, and peatlands are critical because they store large amounts of carbon, but when they're burned or drained, they then release that carbon back into the atmosphere, which of course contributes to climate change. In the UK, where peatlands are a major natural carbon sink, that's a massive problem. And if the grouse shooting and environmental impact weren't bad enough, there's also the issue of birds of prey being killed, sometimes in connection with Prince William's own circles. In July 2023, investigations revealed that Sandringham Estate, owned by the royal family, has been associated with multiple incidents involving the deaths and disappearances of protected birds of prey. This isn't even an isolated problem. Just look at the undercover investigation of the Hilborough estate, which is owned by William's close friend William Van Cutsem. In spring 2022, Protect the Wild funded an investigation that found illegal hawk traps baited with live pigeons meant to lure in birds of prey like goshawks. Footage showed a masked individual removing a trapped goshawk from one of these traps. And who's a regular visitor to the Hilborough estate? None other than Prince William himself. Not exactly a great look for someone trying to position himself as this champion for the environment. So yeah, forgive me if I can't help but feel uneasy when I see reports about Prince William wearing his new biodegradable trainers at an environmental award ceremony, or when the tabloids call him a climate king. How can someone who knowingly participates in activities that literally harm animals and contribute to environmental destruction be seen as a champion for conservation? It's baffling. People need to speak out on this, and that's one of the main reasons I made this video in the first place. Prince William has an incredible opportunity to set a new precedent. If he turned away from these outdated and destructive royal traditions that involve killing wildlife and destroying the planet, he could set a vital example for others to follow. But hey, I want to know what you think. Am I being too harsh on the future king, or am I right to call out this hypocrisy? If you've made it this far, please consider dropping a subscription. We upload every week on topics covering British wildlife, so if there's something you think I should talk about or should be covering, do drop it in the comments and I'll be sure to take a look.